Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibhirididam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvigrananti Te Bhurita Janaha. O Lord, your words like sweet nectar refresh the afflicted. Your words, which poets have sung in verses, vanquish the sins of the worldly. Blessed are they who hear of you, and blessed indeed are they who speak of you. How great is their reward. Today we continue with chapter 32, which we did last month, continuing with that. It's Sri Ramakrishna visiting the Sindhi Brahma Samaj, October 19, 1884. On this day, Sri Ramakrishna again visited the Sindhi Brahma Samaj. It was the occasion of the autumn festival of the Samaj, which was being celebrated at Beni Mathopal's garden house. Sri Ramakrishna had the habit of going to any place where he heard that people are singing God's in the name and glories of God. So we see him going to different places to meet individuals or to places. And here he was actually invited. The Brahmas, members of the Brahma Samaj, invited him for the autumn festival. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at 4:30 in the afternoon. Entering the hall, he bowed down before the altar. The Brahma devotees, among whom could be noticed Vijay and Trailokya, sat around him. A subject who was a member of the Brahma Samaj with them. Now Sri Ramakrishna is talking to the devotees, the members of the Brahma Samaj. Scriptures and books. What can one achieve by these alone? Nothing can be realized without his grace. Strive with longing heart for his grace. Through his grace, you will see him and he will talk to you. So God's grace. Without God's grace, we cannot realize God. We may say, oh, we have been doing spiritual practices, so many spiritual disciplines we have been following. But just by following the spiritual disciplines or japa meditation, no, you cannot realize God unless his grace comes. When Holy Mother was asked one day, Mother, can I realize God by doing japa? She said no. By meditation? She said no. But then why? How can we realize God? Only through his grace. Then why should we do all these things? To prepare ourselves to be grace worthy. If we are not worthy of grace, even if we receive God's grace, we won't be able to withhold it. We won't be able to keep it up with us. If our mind is full of preconceived ideas, prejudices, passions, desires, then where is the room for the grace? So through spiritual practices, we prepare ourselves to receive God's grace. But then when the grace will descend on us, it's up to him. We don't know. And Sri Ramakrishna gives an example about the God's grace, where we do with great yearning, longing for God, we try to do the spiritual disciplines. And then when God sees that we are really panting for him, for his vision, then the grace may come. To illustrate that, he gives an example. A child is busy playing with toys and mother is engaged in her household duties. But after some time, the child gets fed up with playing with the toys, so she throws the toys away and starts crying for the mother. Mother may try to put some other new toys to distract the child, but if the child is insistent that it doesn't want any of the toys, but keep on crying, then what does the mother do? She stops whatever work she is doing. If she has got something on the stove cooking, she turns it off or take it down and then come rushing and take the child on her lap. So if we have that yearning, great longing, then we can hope to receive God's grace. Hearing all these things, this subject has got a doubt. Sir, does God show more grace to one than to another? If so, he can be accused of the fault of partiality. So God is graceful to some people and not showering his grace on others, then he is partial. He is partial to some. Master, what are you saying? Do you mean to say that the moon and the glowworm are the same, though both give light? Ishwarendra Vidyasagar asked me the same question. He said, is it a fact, sir, that God gives more power to one and less to another? God, I said, exists in every being as the all-pervading spirit. He is in the ant as well as in me. But there are different manifestations of his power in different beings. If all are the same, then why have we come here to see you? Attracted by your renown? Have you grown a pair of horns? Oh no, it's not that. You have compassion, you have scholarship. There's a greater degree of these virtues in you than in others. That is the reason you are so well known. That's how Sri Ramakrishna explained to Ishwara Vidyasagar. Don't you see that there are men who single-handed can defeat 100 persons? Again, one takes to his heels in fear of another. You see such a person too. If there are not different manifestations of power in different beings, then why did people respect Keshav so much? So this is God partial? Has he given more grace to one, less to another, more power to one person than less to another person? The same question was asked by Ishwarendra Vidyasagar. See in the beginning of the gospel, in the second chapter, we can see Sri Ramakrishna visited Vidyasagar. As I said earlier, whenever he hears that somebody is devoted to God, doing good works, unselfish, he wants to see that person. And Vidyasagar is a very famous person. And Sri Ramakrishna came to know that M is a teacher in Vidyasagar school. So he asked M, can you take me to see Vidyasagar? So M mentioned Vidyasagar, and Vidyasagar said, bring him one day. Only one question he asked. What sort of a holy man is he? Sri Ramakrishna, he's a holy man. So what sort of a holy man? Does he have matted hair, Rudraksha beads around his neck and ochre clothes? Then M said, no, he doesn't have any of this outer show. He wears red bordered dhuti, has put on polished slippers, not just ordinary polished slippers. And his room, he has got a bed and a mattress and mosquito in it. He has no outer sign indication of any holiness, but he knows nothing but God. That is a description M gave to about Sri Ramakrishna. And then one of the questions he asked was, Vidyasagar asked when he met Sri Ramakrishna was, is God has given more power to one than to another? And this is Sri Ramakrishna's answer. God exists in all, but their manifestation is different. If the manifestation is not different, it's the same, then why have we come to see you? Hearing you're such a famous person, you're a wonderful, good person, we have come to see you, hearing your fame. Then you have more compassion, you have scholarship. These virtues are in greater degree in you. So we have come to see you. And what is that? Because the manifestation of God's power is greater in you. God's power is in all, equally. God is present in all, but the manifestation is different. God is present in animate and inanimate objects. But inanimate objects, we see very little manifestation. Inanimate objects, plants, aquatic animal creatures, and animals on the land, there's greater manifestation. And then still greater manifestation, human beings. And among human beings also, there's a difference in manifestation, as Sri Ramakrishna said to Vidyasagar. And in the Gita, Sri Krishna says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu, name dveshosti na priyaha, e bhajanti tumam bhaktya, maite teshu chapiham. I am equal to all. Not that I am very closer to some and keeping others away from me. No. Those who pray to me, they come close to me. Those who don't keep themselves away, they remain far away. Now this heater is going on. I can feel the warmth more. You people don't feel the warmth. So is it a partial, this is partial to me and not giving warmth to you? Because I'm standing close. You go close to God, you will feel his grace more, his presence more. Not that God is partial to some and keeping away. If we put all the blinds and turn the light off, keep the room dark, and then we say, sun is very partial. It's not giving any light to us. Whose fault is that? We have closed all the blinds, all the windows, made the room dark. Open it, the light will come. So there is no partiality in God. It's up to us. If there are not different manifestations of power in different beings, then why did people respect Keshav Sen so much? Keshav Sen was the leader of the Brahma Samaj, was a very highly respected person, great speaker, great orator. And it was because of Keshav Sen that many of the young disciples of Sri Ramakrishna came to him. And they all came to know, Calcutta in general came to know about Sri Ramakrishna because of Keshav. He spoke about Sri Ramakrishna from his Brahma Samaj meeting place, and he wrote also in his journal. That's how people came to know. That's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying, why do people respect Keshav so much? Because it's a greater manifestation of God in him. It is said in the Gita that if a man is respected and honored by many, whether it be for his scholarship or his music or his oratory or anything else, then you may know for certain that he is endowed with a special divine power. Wherever there is greater manifestation of any quality, any good quality, virtue, there is a manifestation, greater manifestation of God. A Brahma to the subjects, why don't you accept what he says? Another Brahma member, he was telling the subjects, why don't you accept what he says? Master sharply to the Brahma, what sort of a man are you to accept words without conviction? Why? That's hypocrisy. I see you are only a counterfeit. The Brahma was much embarrassed. See, because the subject is asking questions, clearing his doubt. So this man is telling, why don't you just accept it? Whether you understand it, you are convinced of the truth of the argument, just accept it. No, Sri Ramakrishna said, that's hypocrisy. You should accept something if you are convinced of that it's true. It's true. It is the real thing to say. And then you accept it. Otherwise, it is hypocrisy. Subjects. Sir, must we renounce the world? Master. No, why should you? A man can realize God even in the world. But in the beginning, he must spend a few days in solitude. He must practice spiritual discipline in a solitary place. He should take a room near his house so that he may come home only for his meals. Keshav, Pratap, and others said to me, Sir, we follow the ideal of King Janaka. Mere words won't make a King Janaka, I replied. How many austerities King Janaka first had to perform in solitude? Do something first, then you may become King Janaka. You see a man writing English fluently. But could he do that at the very start? Perhaps he was the son of poor parents. He was cook in a family and earned his meals by his service. Perhaps he had to struggle hard to go on with his studies. It is after all his efforts that he can now write such fluent English. I said to Keshav sent further, how can the worldly man be cured of his serious disease unless he goes into solitude? A worldly man is suffering from delirious fever, as it were. Suppose there are pickled tamarind and jars of water in the room of such a patient. Now, how can we expect him to get rid of his disease? Just see, the very mention of pickled tamarind is making my mouth water. All laugh. We can very well imagine what will happen if the tamarind is actually put in front of me. To a man, a woman is the pickled tamarind. His desire for enjoyment, the jars of water. There is neither end nor limit to this desire for worldly enjoyment. And the things are in the patient's very room. Can you expect the patient to get rid of the delirious fever in this fashion? He must be removed for a few days to another place where there is neither pickled tamarind nor water jars. Then he will be cured. After that, if he returns to his old room, he will have nothing to fear. So Sri Ramakrishna is giving all this to explain why practice in solitude is necessary. Now let's continue. First, go back to that. The subject's question is, must we renounce the world? That's a doubt often comes to the people's mind. If they should we renounce the world to realize God? And Sri Ramakrishna gives a definite answer. No, you don't have to. Why should you? A man can realize God even in the world. When at other times Sri Ramakrishna speaks about renouncing the world. So this may seem a bit contradictory, or is he just trying to console the householders? No, you don't have to renounce the world. You can realize God in the world. But we had to remember Sri Ramakrishna never uttered a falsehood. He never uttered anything untrue. Whatever he said, even in joke, was only truth. Miss MacLeod speaks about Swamiji's, Swami Vivekananda. She says, the first sentence he spoke was truth. The second sentence I heard was truth. The third sentence was truth. And whatever he spoke, whatever I have heard all these years was nothing but truth. Sri Ramakrishna never uttered anything untrue. So how can we say this is just consoling householders? No, this is not consoling householders. He wants to impress the idea how difficult it is to renounce everything in the beginning. In the beginning, we cannot renounce everything. And how can you renounce the world? This whole world is in God. Is the world outside God? In the Yoga Vasishta, Ramayana, it is an incident which Sri Ramakrishna refers in the Gospel. Rama, after studying all the Vedanta and everything, he had a great sense of, he developed dispassion for the world. So he decided he will renounce the world. And King Dasharatha got so worried. The eldest son, the heir to the throne. So he asked sage Vasishtha, their guru, the teacher, to help him. So Vasishtha called Rama, now said, you reason with me. You want to renounce the world. Where is the world? Is the world outside God? Then reasoning with that, he said, no, there is nothing outside other than God. So how can you renounce the world? And again, Yoga Vasishtha reasons is real Advaita Vedanta. And according to Advaita Vedanta, the world is unreal. Brahman alone is real, the world is unreal. So what will you renounce? The world is unreal. There's nothing to renounce. You can renounce only something which is real. If something which is not real, how can you give it up? There's no question of giving it up. And those who have renounced the world, have they completely renounced everything? As long as you are in the body, as long as you are conscious of the body, you cannot renounce completely. You need to keep the body, you need food, you need clothes, you need a shelter. So how can you renounce completely? Even those who are renounced, those who are wandering monks, they go and beg food. They need food. So complete renunciation is not possible. And especially in the beginning, renouncing externally is very hard. So Sri Ramakrishna says to the householders, renounce mentally. He says, hold on to God with one hand and do your duties with the other. And what is renunciation anyway? Detachment from the things of the world and attachment to God. So you give up, lessen your attachment to the things of the world and increase your attachment to God. So give up that, leave from one hand, you reduce the attachment, and with the other hand, hold on to God with greater attachment. But to attain that state, we must practice disciplines in solitude. A devotee wants to continue with one incident more about renouncing the world. A devotee once came to Swami Sharadananda in Calcutta, in Udbodhan, and said that he wants to renounce the world. Swami said, oh, you want to renounce the world? I have not been able to renounce the world after all these years. See, look how many clothes I am wearing, because it was winter, and so he had warm clothes. And also he was suffering from rheumatism. He had a lot of clothes he used to wear to keep him. There's no heater or anything. So wearing warm clothes, they used to keep themselves warm. And see, I have not been able to renounce the world, and you want to renounce the world. It's not so easy. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, mental renunciation. And this body is the only instrument that we have for spiritual practices. So we have to keep the body fit. In the name of renunciation, you give up food, give up shelter, then what will happen? The body will, after a few days, the body will collapse. Then where is your spiritual practices? All gone. A great Advaitis like Totapudi, when he got excruciating pain because of his dysentery, he could not concentrate in the mind. Who has attained the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi? Then what about ordinary people like us? A little headache, that's enough. Our spiritual practice all goes out of the window. So we have to keep the bodies fit. And so as long as we are conscious of the body, we have got the body, we cannot completely give up the world. It's impossible. But we have to practice in solitude in the beginning. A man can realize God even in the world, but in the beginning, he must spend a few days in solitude. He must practice spiritual discipline in a solitary place. Why is the solitude given so much importance? Because in solitude, in a solitary place, there will be less distraction. If, see, I am trying to do something and 10 people come and talk to me 10 different things, I won't be able to concentrate on what the work I'm doing. I may make mistakes. I am completely distracted. In the world, we are trying to do spiritual practices. We get so much of distraction. All the sense organs bring in impressions from the external world. You see something, we hear something. Whether even if you don't want to, because we don't have complete control over our sense organs, we will be distracted. But in a solitary place, there will be less distraction. Say, go to a park when there are no people walking around, just birds or trees. So less distraction. That's why solitude is so important in the beginning. But then there is one thing you have to remember. In the beginning, solitude for right in the beginners is not recommended for a long time, for a short period. Sri Ramakrishna says, if you can stay in solitude for 3 months, 1 month, at least a week, a few 3 days, but for a long period, it's not recommended unless you're used to, because we are not used to solitude and our brain may go funny. Those people who are punished, sent to solitary confinement, what happens to them? They go, they get mad, because we are so used to people around us. But for spiritual practices, we need solitude. Once in a while, for a short period, a day, 1 day, 3 days, at the most 1 week, start with that. Spend the time in solitude. Then there'll be less distraction. You practice spiritual discipline in solitude, and then once you are a little bit of established that, then you can come back. The example Sri Ramakrishna gives is, when you set yogurt, you keep the milk, added the culture and keep it. But if it is disturbed all the time, it won't set. It should be kept quiet without being disturbed. In solitude, our mind is less disturbed. And another example he gives is, a plant when it is sapling, you give a hedge around it so that the animals don't eat it. In Dharma, when we plant, we always give a metal wire mesh around it. Otherwise, the next day, the Pallabis will come and eat everything. Finished. So when the tender plant of our spiritual life is starting, planting, then we need a fence around it. That happens when you go to solitude. That's why solitude is so important. He must practice spiritual discipline in a solitary place. Now, solitary place, not going far away from home. If you are going far away from home and into solitary place, then you have to worry about your food. Who is going to give you food? So Sri Ramakrishna's practical advice to the householders he is giving. You should take a room near his house so that he may come home only for meals. Get a room near the house, just walking distance, come home for the meals, then go back to the place. You don't have to worry about your food. Keshav, Pratap, and others said to me, Pratap Chandra Majumdar is another leader of the Brahma Samaj. They said, sir, we follow the ideal of King Janaka. King Janaka is a knower of Brahman, and he is said to be the father of Sita in the Ramayana. But he is known as Videha, the one without any consciousness of the body, without any body consciousness. Though in the body, he is without consciousness, he is not identified with the body. That's why he is called Videha. So that's why he's there. We follow the ideal of King Janaka. King Janaka, after realizing Brahman, he's having self-knowledge, the Brahman consciousness, he still rule as the king in the kingdom without any attachment. So these Keshav and Pratap, they're saying, we follow the ideal of King Janaka. Then what is Sri Ramakrishna's reply? Mere words don't make a King Janaka. Just by saying that, oh, we are like King Janaka, it doesn't happen. How much austerities King Janaka did in the beginning, in the early days. How many austerities King Janaka first had to perform in solitude. Do something first, then you may become King Janaka. And Swami, when making fun of this statement of people, there are many people who say, oh, we follow the ideal of King Janaka. And then Swamiji says, yes, they are Janakas. Janakas means fathers. Janaka, another meaning, literal meaning of Sanskrit of word Janaka is father. So yes, they are the fathers. They have got children. They are not following the ideal of King Janaka, but they think that they have become Janakas. Yes, they are Janakas. Of course, they are fathers. I said to Keshav further, how can a worldly man be cured of his serious disease unless he goes into solitude, away from the attractions of the world? A worldly man is suffering from delirious fever, as it were. And what is there are pickled tamarind and jars of water in the room for such a patient. And now, how can you expect him to get rid of the disease? So remove those attractions. Then the patient will get cured. He must be removed for a few days to another place where there are neither pickled tamarind nor water jars. Then he will be cured. After that, if he returns to his old home, he'll have nothing to fear. So Sri Ramakrishna says, first, practice spiritual discipline in solitude, attain love of God, then you come back. Come back and live your life in the world. Nothing is going to happen. You won't be entangled. You won't be drowned in worldliness. Woman and gold cannot do any harm to the man who lives in the world after attaining God. Only then can he lead a detached life in the world, as King Janaka did. But he must be careful at the beginning. He must practice spiritual discipline in strict solitude. In the beginning, it's very important. We have to follow these disciplines. The peepal tree, when young, is fenced around to protect it from cattle. But there is no need for the fence when the trunk grows thick and strong. Sri Ramakrishna says in another place, even if you tie an elephant to that trunk, nothing will happen because the tree has become strong. So once you attain God, you come back and live in the world. Nothing is going to happen. You won't be drowned in worldliness. Woman and gold will not be able to harm you in the least. If you go home and lead a householder's life after increasing your spiritual strength and developing love for the lotus feet of God through the practice of spiritual discipline in solitude. Sri Ramakrishna is telling these householders, first practice in solitude, spiritual discipline for some time, and then go back home and lead your life. No harm will happen. Nothing will happen because you have become strong. A man sets milk in a quiet place to curdle, and then he extracts butter from the curd. After once extracting the butter of devotion and knowledge from the milk of the mind, if you keep that transformed mind in the water of the world, it will float in the world unattached. See, in olden times, we used to set the milk to make it yogurt and then churn it, get the butter out and put it in water. The butter will float. That's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. But if you keep milk in water, what will happen? Milk and water become one. You cannot separate it. Whereas make butter, it will float. It won't get mixed. So first, do spiritual disciplines in solitude and get the butter of devotion and knowledge. And then you come back to the world and live in the world, nothing will happen. But if the mind in its unripe state, that is to say, when it is just like liquid milk, is kept in the water of the world, then the milk and the water will get mixed. In that case, it will be impossible for the mind to float unattached in the world. Live in the world, but in order to realize God, hold fast his lotus feet with one hand, and with the other, do your duties. Sri Ramakrishna never asked his household disciples to give up the world. There are many who wanted to renounce, like the recorder of the gospel. She asked Sri Ramakrishna many times that he wanted to renounce. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, live in the world. Nagamahashe, he wanted to renounce the world. Sri Ramakrishna said, no. You must live, you live in the world and show how an ideal householder life is. That's why how to live in the world as a householder, she's saying, hold on to God with one hand and with the other, do your duties. You have got duties. Everybody has got duties. Do the duty with one hand and hold on to God with the other. When you get a respite from your duties, cling to God's lotus feet with both hands. Live in solitude and meditate on him and serve him ceaselessly. When your duties are finished, then hold on to God with both hands. But what do we usually do? We find out extra things and make ourselves, we don't want to give up attachment. Our children are grown up, they are moved away, and no other duty. So what to do? Get a pet. Get attached to that. Get a dog or a cat or a bird, get attached to that. Because our attachment is in our mind. It hasn't gone. Children are grown up and left home, but we are not ready to give up. So we get something else to get attached to. When your duties are over, when you get a respite from your duties, cling to God's lotus feet with both hands. And then what are you to do? Live in solitude and meditate on him and serve him ceaselessly. Serve God in all beings. Subjudge joyously. Sir, these are very beautiful words indeed. Of course, one must practice spiritual discipline in solitude, but we forget all about it. We think we have become King Janaka outright. The master and the devotees laugh. I feel very happy and peaceful, even to hear that there is no need to give up the world and that God can be realized from home as well. This person must be a sincere aspirant. He was really worried hearing that thinking that he has to give up the world to realize God. Now Sri Ramakrishna said there is no need. So he's saying, I feel very happy and peaceful, even to hear that there is no need to give up the world and that God can be realized from home as well. Master, why should you give up the world? Since you must fight, it is wise for you to fight from a fort. You must fight against your sense organs, against your hunger and thirst. Therefore, you will be wise to face the battle from the world. Further, in the Kali Yuga, you'll be wise, in the Kali Yuga, the life of a man depends on his food. If one day you have nothing to eat, then you will forget all about God. A man once said to his wife, I'm going to leave the world. She was a sensible woman. She said, why should you wander about? If you don't have to knock at 10 doors for your stomach's sake, go. But if that's the case, then better live in this one place. If you don't if you don't have to knock on 10 doors, that is begging for alms, for your stomach's sake, if you don't have to, all right, then you can go away from the world and from the family, no problem. But if you have to, then better stay here. You don't have to run around looking, searching for food, asking, begging for food. You get the food and do the spiritual practices. Stay at home and do your spiritual practices. Again, I say, why should you give up the world? You will find it more convenient at home. You won't have to worry about food. You may even live with your wife. It isn't harmful. You will find near at hand all that the body needs at different times. When you are ill, you will have someone near you to nurse you. Sages like Janaka, Vyasa, and Vasishta lived in the world after attaining knowledge. Janaka, Vyasa, Vasishta, they all had family, wives and children. But they lived in the world after attaining knowledge of God. They fenced with two swords, the one of knowledge and the other of action. Subjects. How can we know that we have knowledge of God, not the knowledge in the ordinary sense? Master, when one has knowledge, one does not see God anymore at a distance. One does not think of him anymore as he. He becomes this. When he is seen in one's own heart, then he is seen in one's own heart. God dwells in every person. He who seeks God realizes him. So, how do you know that we have got God realization, knowledge of God? We don't see God far away. God is no longer he. He means something outside, external, away. No, it's this, within me. Realize God as within the person, within everybody, as the indwelling spirit. That's the God dwells in every man, every person. That realization comes. That's the sign of knowledge, of God realization. He who seeks God realizes him. Subject. Sir, I am a sinner. How can I say that God dwells in me? I am a sinner. How can I say God is within me? Master. That is the one trouble with you, Brahmos. With you, it's always sin and sin. That's the Christian view, isn't it? Once a man gave me a Bible. A part of it was read to me. And it was full of that one thing, sin and sin. One must have such faith that one can say, I have uttered the name of God. I have repeated the name of Rama or Hari, that's God. How can I be a sinner? One must have faith in the glory of God's name. That faith should be there. I have repeated God's name, then how can I be a sinner? If you believe that God is all-powerful, God is all-powerful, and God is full of purity, and I have repeated God's name and person are not different, they are one. And I have repeated God's name, and still I say I'm a sinner, then you don't have any faith. We should have such faith that we should say, I have repeated God's name, how can I be a sinner anymore? There is a story. A king did some misdeed, and he realized, and he went to his teacher to ask what he should do, penance. Now, the teacher was not there. The teacher's son told him, you repeat God's name 3 times. Now, the king went away with full faith, repeat 3 times. That's enough, penance. Now, the father came back, and then the son reported, the king came, and so what did you say? I asked him to repeat 3 times. You fool, 3 times. Once enough. That faith should be there. God's name is so powerful. And I had to repeat 3 times. No, once repeat with full faith, full conviction. I'll be pure. No more sin. And Swamiji, what did Swamiji say in the his lecture in the Parliament of Religion? You call you a sinner. You are heirs of immortality, children of immortal bliss. Amritasya Putra, that's the Vedic sage said. And we call ourselves sinners. No, we are not sinners. The divine spark is within us. The divinity is within us. That firm conviction should be the firm faith. One must have faith in the glory of God's name. Now another doubt. Subject. Sir, how can one have such faith? We don't have that faith. How can we have that faith? Master, have passionate love for God. Have passionate love for God, then you will get that faith. One of your Brahma songs says, "Oh Lord, is it ever possible to know thee without love? However much one may perform worship and sacrifice." So you should have love for God. Pray to God in secret and with yearning, that you may have that passionate attachment and devotion to him. Shed tears for him. A man sheds a jug full of tears because his wife is sick, or because he is losing money, or because he is worrying about getting a job. But tell me, who ever weeps for God? Can any one of us say that we have kept for God? We weep for everything else. For everything else we weep. We shed tears. We worry, but not for God. God realization. I have not realized God. No tears come from that. We have that. We should have that. Pray to God in secret and with yearning, that you may have passionate attachment and devotion to him. Sri Ramakrishna showed how passionate attachment should be there. He spent almost 24 hours or more than 20 hours of his day in meditation, prayer, repetition of the name. No sign of vision of Divine Mother. She shed tears and tears. And in the evening, another day has gone. Still, I haven't realized you. And in the end, he said, what's the point of living like this? Let me put an end to this life. And then had that vision of my Divine Mother. So that passionate attachment should be there. Shed tears for him. Trilokya. It's another Brahma leader. Sir, where is people's leisure? They must serve the English masters. There's no time to pray to God. But isn't that an excuse? There are praying to God. Does not mean that you have to sit down and do that. You can doing many other things. You can have the mind attached to God. But usually that's the excuse that we often say. We don't have time. We don't have time for japa. We don't have time for prayer. But Sri Ramakrishna gives a solution for that. If you don't have time, well then, give God the power of attorney. If you say you don't have any time at all to pray to God, to do spiritual practices, give God the power of attorney. If a man can entrust his affair to a good person, will the latter do any harm? With all the sincerity of your heart, resign yourself to God and drive all your worries out of your mind. Do whatever duties he has assigned to you. But resign yourself to God, surrender completely to God. Then whatever you do your duty, you just do your duties. The kitten does not have a calculating mind. It only cries meow, meow. It lies in the kitchen contentedly if the mother cat leaves it there, and only calls the mother, crying meow, meow. It has the same feeling of contentment when the mother cats put it on the soft bed of the master of the house. It only cries for its mother. wherever God places, be content. Completely depend on God. Surrender completely to God. Resign yourself completely to God. If we say we don't have time for spiritual practices, that's what Sri Ramakrishna says, then give the power of attorney. All of you know about the incident of Girish Chandra Ghosh. When Sri Ramakrishna asked him to do spiritual practices, disciplines, Girish said, no, I don't have time. I can't say. Well, you repeat the name of God before you go to bed. No, I can't. Because I don't know when I'll be sleeping, where I'll be sleeping. Well, you'll be having your meal. Repeat the name of God before your meals. No, I can't. I don't know when I'll be eating, whose company I'll be. I can't say. Because he rebelled against any type of discipline. But one good quality he had was extremely truthful. Whatever he said he will do, he will do. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, and he had faith also. Sri Ramakrishna said, all right, then give me the power of attorney. You don't have to worry about your spiritual practices. I was so happy. I don't have to do any spiritual disciplines. No, it is free. I'll be free to do whatever I want. Just, all right, you have power of attorney. Then after a few days, he realized, no, it's not so easy, because he was sitting in front of Sri Ramakrishna and with other devotees, and they said something, the conversation, he said, oh, yes, I will do it. Immediately Sri Ramakrishna corrected, if God wills. How can you say you will do it? You are given the power of attorney to God. You don't have any freedom. Then every step he realized that he can't do anything without God's permission, and he cannot even breathe without remembering God, that stage. And he said, if I had known how, later he said, if I had known how difficult it is, I would have rather said, I will do the discipline, spiritual discipline, and repeat the name, rather than giving the power of attorney. When his wife passed away, he said, I don't have the freedom even to weep. Sri Ramakrishna has already left his body. Who is going to give him freedom? No, I can't even weep. Complete surrender. Whatever you do, you can do only what God asks you to do, God makes you do. That surrender comes. If you give the power of attorney, people also often say, oh, it's so easy. Give the power of attorney. I'll do whatever God wills me to do. That's only, ours is lip service. So real surrender is very, very hard. The same thing we see Saint Teresa of Avila says, real surrender to God is so hard. They know, only those who have tried to practice it sincerely know how difficult it is. Every moment you have to remember and check, am I following my will or God's will? It's very, very hard. Well, then give God the power of attorney. And Sri Ramakrishna says, if a man entrusts his affairs to a good person, will the latter do him any harm? So if you hand over your whole responsibility to God, then God will look after you. There is no doubt about that. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry anything up your worldly life or your spiritual life. God will look after. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, those who depend upon me completely, I will look after what they have and I will provide what they lack. Yoga Kshemam Vahameham. I will carry. That's the words he used. I will carry. I will carry what they lack and I will provide, I'll protect what they have. Because you are so engrossed with God, thought of God, you are not able to look after your affairs, your property. God will look after. You are not able to provide for the family. God will provide. That faith you have. That's why he says, if you entrust your affairs to a good person, will the latter do any harm? With all the sincerity of heart, resign yourself to God and drive all your worries out of your mind. Thank you.
This coming Friday night, we've got the fortnightly Gita discussion led by Gayatriprana. And next Sunday, Sri Gayatriprana will continue the lecture series on the Isha Upanishad. In particular, the theme will be the nature of reality, concentrating on the verses 6 to 11. And we've got donation plate and donation box up the back, and we'll conclude with listening to a guided meditation by Revered Pravrajika Ajayaprana Mataji.
And follow me silently. And follow me silently. Lord and Sovereign Master of the universe, in these few moments of silence, my heart yearns to commune with Thee. Please open my heart to the showers of the rays of Your grace, that I may feel and experience Thy love and compassion. O Master of my life, Light of the universe, may I be able to see You shining in my heart ever and ever. The heart offered is the heart accepted. This heart of mine that I have offered at Your feet is waiting, waiting, waiting for Your vision. Closing the eyes, look into the center of the heart, the spiritual heart. The spiritual heart is the dwelling place of God in our physical system. It belongs to God. All other parts of the body are in our control. But the spiritual heart belongs to the Lord. When the heart is full of worldly concerns, the tumultuous waves of worldliness hide the face of God from our vision. Let us try to bring our feelings, thoughts, and attention away from the world and into the heart, where the Lord of the universe is awaiting our arrival. The presence of God is always experienced as light. Let us visualize that light today as a beautiful flame, golden orange flame. Not moving, steady, with beautiful perfect shape. This flame, representing the presence of God, does not need any fuel to burn, does not emit any smoke from its burning, does not cast any shadow. When we look closer into the inside of the heart, we can see this wonderful golden orange flame emerging into our vision. Slowly bring your mind and thoughts onto the flame. It is there. It is there. We only have to look for it with attention. And a wonderful aura of golden orange brilliance is emerging out of the flame. And has filled our heart. Look closely. In the center of the heart is the flame. Surrounding it, all around in the heart, is that glorious light, wonderful glow, beautiful to experience, filling the whole heart, coming from the flame. Piercing the sides of the heart, the powerful, wonderful radiance coming from the flame, but cool, soothing, strengthening, has come out into the other parts of the body. Feel the cool flow of that energy emerging out of the heart, flowing into every part of the body. Feel it flowing slowly into the right leg, filling it up to the tips of the toes. The golden glow of energy is flowing into the left leg, filling it to the tips. The right arm is getting filled with that glorious brilliance. The radiance is now filling the left arm up to the tips of the fingers. The golden radiance coming out of the heart is flowing into all parts of the trunk of the body. And now it's flowing into the head, filling every part of it. The lobes of the ears up to the tip of the nose. Our whole body is now filled with that golden radiance. Coming from that wonderful flame of light, love and life that has become visible. The presence of God become visible because of our yearning to see it. There is nothing else in the body, only that golden radiance from the tip of the head up to the toes. Then through every pore of the body, it is slowly coming out. And like a thin film, it's hovering around the body. You feel its cool touches on your cheeks, on your forehead, on your hands, arms. The whole body is enveloped within that thin film of radiance. The power of God, the love of God, the peace of God. Filling the whole body. It has come out and enveloped within its arms our whole physical body. We feel a lightness, a coolness, a sense of peace, at the same time a sense of power existing within the body and around it. It is there even if we feel it or not. See it. It has filled the whole body. It has surrounded the whole body. See that. And we remain in that beautiful feeling and experience for a few minutes of silence. Hari Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace.